This video is going to talk about oogenesis. Oogenesis, which is in Chapter 1, Document 5, in the basic mechanism of sexual reproduction, Document 5, oogenesis. What the meaning of oogenesis? Everything that ends with genesis is the production of. Like, for example, spermatogenesis is the formation of the sperm. Oogenesis. What is oogenesis? Oogenesis is the process by which the mother cell of the gamete, which is diploid, which is 2N, will give rise to haploid female gamete. Haploid female gamete, they are the egg cells. This process takes place inside the ovaries. It starts from the fetal life until the menopause. Fetal life, for example, from the beginning, fetal life in fetus, the fetus life, the life of the fetus till menopause. Menopause, it's the stage where the female, they are not able to produce the egg cells, meaning that they are not able to have a baby unless some, for example, miracles happens. But until menopause, it's the stage, like in Arabic it's called sin al-yas, so where the female, they can't produce the egg cells. Okay, unlike males, their lifespan or the activities, the actual activities, start from puberty till death. So it ends, for example, till death. Even though it decreases with time, the level or the concentration of the sperm cell or the number of the sperm cells and the motility and the quality of the sperm cells decreases with age, this is sure. First of all, you have to know that the mother cell of gametes, 2N molecule, they are called the oogonia. Steps or the stages of the oogenesis. As you watch the video includes oogenesis and something called Follicular Genesis, which is development of the follicles. We're going to talk about this in details. So oogenesis, the cell of mother cells oogonia, 2N, it gives primary oocyte. Primary oocyte, it has the symbol oocyte 1. That's why they are called primary oocyte. They are arrested in prophase 1. This is all of them, they are before birth. All these steps, they are before birth. From puberty till menopause, what will happen? The primary oocytes, they undergo meiosis 1 to give something called first polar body, which dies, and the secondary oocyte, which is oocyte 2. Oocyte 2 will undergo meiosis 2 and will get arrested in metaphase 2. Whenever it's completed, if you have fertilization, we will have second polar body, which dies also, and we have the zygote. At the same level, the follicles that surround these, we have primordial follicles, and after the puberty till menopause, the primordial follicle will develop into primary, the primary will develop into tertiary, and the tertiary cavitary, which is the Graafian follicle, and finally we have the ovulation and the release of the egg cell. What are these steps? Let's start step by step together. First step in the oogenesis process is called the multiplication phase. Do you have to study that? Yes. Do you have to know the steps? Yes. Do you have to know the events? Yes. Multiplication phase. The phase where the number of oogonia is multiplied, it's amplified, it's increased in number by the process of mitosis, where each having 2N chromosomes, and each is made up of only 1 chromosome. That's why 2N, 1 Q. This is the multiplication phase. So the first phase is called the multiplication phase, where the number of oogonia is amplified, meaning that is amplified, meaning that increased by the process of mitosis. We have amplification of the number of oogonia, and each having 2N chromosomes, each is made up of 1 chromosome. Second phase is called the growth. Growth phase, they gave it as interphase. Why? Because during interphase we have duplication. So growth phase, you have development and enlargement of the oogonia. They will give larger cells. These larger cells, they are called oocyte 1. And they have another name, they are called primary oocytes. Okay? So oocyte 1 should be written in the Roman number. So oocyte 1, primary oocyte, you are 2N, 2Q, meaning that we have 2 chromatids per chromosome. So let's repeat this. Growth phase, also called the interphase, is the phase of the development and the enlargement of the oogonia. They will give rise to larger cells. They are called primary oocyte. They have 2N, 2Q, 2 chromatids per chromosome. So till now, we have multiplication phase, which is the first phase. We have the growth phase, where the oogonia will give rise to oocyte 1. Third phase is called the maturation, also referred to as meiosis. Meiosis 1 will start, but it will be blocked at prophase 1. So meiosis 1 will start prophase 1, and it's blocked at prophase 1. It doesn't continue. All these events, they occur exclusively in the fetal life of the female. Okay? So it doesn't happen in males for sure. We're talking about the egg cells. They are occurring exclusively in the female, and this events where the meiosis 1 would start and all the primary oocytes will be produced during the growth phase, all of them, they occur in the fetal life of female. They start in the fetal life and they end in the fetal life. At birth, a girl will have all of her gametes present in her ovary as oocyte blocked at prophase 1, meaning that the girl before puberty, all of their cells or gamete cells, they are oocytes 1, they are blocked at prophase 1. This will be the case from birth until a couple of days before a girl reaches the puberty, and hours after the first ovulation. We will talk about this. What the meaning of ovulation and what is this? First of all, let's make it sure. So we have the first phase is called multiplication. Multiplication, number of oogonia, they multiply, they amplify, they increase in number. Second phase is called the growth. Growth phase is called the interphase, where we have enlargement of the cell, and the oogonia will give rise to larger cells. They are called oocyte 1, primary oocytes. They are 2N, 2Q, 2 chromatids per chromosome. Okay? Then, what do you have now? We have maturation phase. During maturation phase, it's meiosis, where meiosis 1 will start and it will be blocked at prophase 1. All these events, meaning that multiplication, growth, and maturation, they occur at the fetal life exclusively. They start there and they end there, and all the cells to be gametes of the female, they are referred to as oocyte 1, and they are blocked at prophase 1 of meiosis. This will be the case, as I said, from birth till a couple of days before puberty and hours after the first ovulation. What is ovulation? Ovulation it occurs always, meaning that approximately at the day 14 of the menstrual cycle of the female. So menstrual cycle of the female, it ranges between 28 to 38, 32 days. So this menstrual cycle, the day 14, always in the normal cases, it represents the ovulation day. So ovulation is the name of the process that happens usually in every menstrual cycle in females. So males, you are not related to this. So it usually occurs in the menstrual cycle of the female when the hormone changes. So hormonal changes, they trigger the release of the ovary to release the egg cell. So the release of the egg cell at day 14 of the menstrual cycle is referred to as the ovulation. So as you see here, we have follicular phase and we have something called luteal phase. Follicular phase, we have the primary follicle, the follicular cell, they surround the secondary oocytes, and we have Graafian follicle, where we have ruptured follicle at day 14, where we have ovulation. We have corpus luteum, we're going to talk about them, the yellow body, and the corpus albicans, which is the white body. So you have to know that the ovulation, it's the name of the process that occurs at the day 14 of the menstrual cycle of the female, where the hormonal changes, they trigger an ovary to release an egg. Hours before the first and every ovulation, what will happen? Oogenesis will resume, will continue. We said that oogenesis will stop at prophase 1, meiosis 1. Hours before the first and every ovulation, this process, oogenesis process, will continue. What the meaning of this? Group of oocytes 1, group of primary oocytes will continue their meiosis activity, will continue prophase 1, metaphase 1, anaphase 1, telophase 1, and they move toward meiosis 2. And whenever they reach meiosis 2, they undergo prophase 2, metaphase 2, and they got blocked here. And they got blocked at metaphase 2. The end result from each primary oocyte, the primary oocyte that completed meiosis 1 and undergo meiosis 2 and get rid the stop at metaphase 2 of meiosis 2, now they are called secondary oocyte. طوروا, they get larger in size, they have special characteristics, they are not more, no more they are primary oocytes, they are referred to as secondary oocyte, oocyte 2. And as I said, 2 is written in Roman number. Oocyte 2, they are 1N, Q, not DNA 1Q, and 2 chromatids per chromosome. Here we have the result of each primary oocyte is a secondary oocyte, oocyte 2, and we have first polar body. So this is the oogenesis where it continues. Oocyte 2 is the gamete. When the ovulation occurs, it will be released. So oocyte 2 is the gamete that will be released when ovulation occurs. Which day of menstrual cycle? At day 14. This oocyte 2 should wait in the upper third part, in the upper part of the fallopian tube. Fallopian tube is the oviduct, okay? So if no fertilization occurs, there is no fertilization. Within about 24 to 38 hours, this egg cell will degenerate and descend in the uterus and will die. So here, first, the most important part for the fertilization to occur, the one that has to do fertilization, or if a couple they are deciding to have a baby, the best time for this is the day after the ovulation or the day of ovulation. It's the best time where the egg cell is waiting in the upper third part of the fallopian tube. Okay, we're waiting there for a sperm cell to reach this and to fertilize it. If there is no fertilization, so the egg cell will degenerate, will die, and descend into the uterus. Only if fertilization occurs. Pay attention here. Only if we have fertilization, we're going to move to the differentiation. So only if fertilization occurs, differentiation phase, oocyte 2 will resume meiosis 2, starts at metaphase 2, if you remember. It undergoes anaphase 2, telophase 2. To give a cell, whenever it's penetrated with a sperm, it's called oocyte. This oocyte is 1N, 1Q, 1 chromatid per chromosome. This oocyte will mature into an ovum, where it's 1N, 1Q, 1 chromatid per chromosome. So this is the end result of the oogenesis process. This is the last phase where fertilization occurs. Oocyte 2 will continue its process, will resume meiosis 2, where it stopped at metaphase 2, it continues. Metaphase 2, anaphase 2, telophase 2, and give a cell. Whenever it's penetrated with a sperm cell, it will give a cell. It's called oocyte. This oocyte, it's 1N, 1Q, 1 chromatid per chromosome, and this oocyte will mature to the ovum, where it's 1N, 1Q, 1 chromatid per chromosome. You have to pay attention here that oogenesis will start in the ovaries and it ends in the oviduct. This is the process of follicular genesis. Follicular genesis is the development of the follicles. If you see here, first we have primordial follicles. They develop to give primary follicle. Development of the primary, they give secondary, they give tertiary, and they have Graafian follicle, where the rupturing occurs at the day 14 of the menstrual cycle. Follicular genesis. Let's talk about follicular genesis in details. Follicular genesis, as we said, is the development of the follicles from primordial to primary to secondary to cavitary and to the tertiary and to the Graafian follicle, which is the ruptured one and will give oocyte 2 to be released out of the follicles during the day 14 of the menstrual cycle. So oocyte 1, since birth, they will be wrapped, they will be covered by a simple layer of epithelial cells. They are referred to as follicles. And we call these follicles during birth, since birth, oocyte 1 will be wrapped, will be covered by follicles. These follicles, they are simple cells. They are called primordial follicles. Starting from puberty, about 3 months or 4 months before the first ovulation, these follicles will grow in size. They develop. They, for example, form more and more. They acquire more and more characteristics, and they acquire more and more properties by enlarging in size, and they have specialties. These are called primary. So let's make a deal. First, oocyte 1, before birth or since birth, they were wrapped in follicles. These follicles, they are called primordial follicles. About 3 to 4 months before the first ovulation, the primordial will develop into the primary follicles that have special characteristics. Days before ovulation, 10 of these follicles will continue their development, only 10. Primary will become secondary follicles. Only the best one over these 10 will develop from secondary into the cavitary, which is called the tertiary follicles. I will repeat it. First, since birth, oocyte 1, we were covered with the primordial follicle. 3 to 4 months before first ovulation and starting from puberty, the primordial follicle will develop into primary follicles. Primary follicles, 10 of these follicles during the days before the ovulation, days before the rupturing of the follicle, 10 of these follicles will develop into secondary. Only one, and the best one of these 10 follicles, will develop into tertiary, which is called cavitary follicle. Okay? The other 9, then again secondary, they degenerate and die. Once we have a bell ring, and this means that we have ovulation. Ovulation meaning that it occurs at day 14. So oocyte 1 is present in the cavitary, will resume mitotic division to produce oocyte 2. The oocyte 2 is growing, so sure the follicle will mature and develop to give a fully grown, what's known by Graafian follicle. So here, during ovulation, the follicle is called Graafian follicle. On ovulation day, the Graafian follicle will rupture, will rupture and burst, and release the oocyte 2 toward the oviduct. Whenever reaching this stage, the follicular phase will end. So the Lashna first at oocyte 1. First, the oocyte 1, since birth, they were wrapped, I repeat, follicular genesis, were wrapped in the primordial follicle, and then will develop into primary. The primary will develop into secondary. Secondary, 10 of these will develop into 10 will develop in secondary, and only one, the best one, will develop into the cavitary or the tertiary follicle. The other 9 will degenerate. Before ovulation and the day of ovulation, the oocyte will develop into oocyte 2. Oocyte 2, it's developed, so we need a developed follicles or developed membrane of follicles. So these follicles will develop from tertiary or cavitary into Graafian follicle, and this Graafian follicle will rupture and will release the oocyte 2 into the oviduct. Here, the follicular phase ends. The ruptured follicle will become what's known by the yellow body, or it's called the corpus luteum. So this corpus luteum, we'll know later in chapter 15, has an important role in preparing the uterus to welcome the baby. So it's preparing the uterus to welcome the pregnancy by releasing 2 of the most important hormones for the female, estrogen and progesterone. That we talk about that in the lesson about the female and male reproductive system. This is where we studied the luteal phase. Luteal phase is where it occurs. If fertilization occurs, what will happen? The corpus luteum, which is the yellow body, will survive for 3 months. Okay? And then it will become what's known by the white body, corpus albicans, and degenerates. While if there is no fertilization, the corpus luteum directly will become corpus albicans, will become white body, and this later the white body will degenerate. Okay? Here is the process. We're talking about the development of the follicle from primordial to primary to secondary to gavitary tertiary, and then we have Graafian follicle where we have the rupture. Okay, so as you see here, the increase in the size from 30 micrometer, 50 micrometer to 100 to 300 to 5 millimeter and to 20 millimeter in the case of the Graafian follicle, where we have the rupture of the follicle at day 14, which is day of ovulation, and we have the yellow body, which will die and will transform into the white body, corpus albicans, and which eventually dies. And here the cycle will repeat itself. So here, menstruation occurs at day 0, and menstruation will occur after 28 to 30 days approximately. So follicular phase, it's about 14 days plus or minus 3. It ranges according to the female, according to the hormone level, and ovulation at day 14. Luteal phase, it's 14 days plus or minus 1 according to the hormonal changes. Okay? And this oogenesis versus the follicular genesis. As I said, embryonic life, we have multiplication phase, oogonia, they multiplied, growth phase, they all come oocyte 1, and then we have beginning of the first mitotic division, oocyte 1 blocked in prophase 1, we have primordial follicle, primary, secondary, tertiary, Graafian follicle, where the rupture at day 14 of the menstrual cycle. Day 14, we have rupture of the Graafian follicle, where oocyte 2 in metaphase 2 survives 24 hours without fertilization. If there is fertilization, we have the release of the second polar body, fertilized ovum, we have an embryo, uterus, and the yellow body will survive for 3 months to release the secretion of the hormones estrogen and progesterone, while if there is no fertilization, the yellow body will be the white body immediately, and this yellow white body will degenerate and die. This is a explanation of the whole cycle between oogenesis and follicular genesis. So oogenesis will start with the oogonia in oocyte 1. Oocyte 1 will be blocked in meiosis 1 in prophase 1, while during birth we have primordial follicle, and they develop during maturation and differentiation into primary, secondary, tertiary follicles, and during the day 14 the Graafian follicle will rupture, oocyte 2 will be released, and if we have fertilization, the release of the second polar body, and we have ovum will be fertilized, and we have here the embryo that will descend to the uterus and will stay here, while the health of the yellow body that persists if we have fertilization for about 3 to 4 months or 3 months approximately, while if there is no fertilization, the yellow body will transform immediately into the white body, and then it will degenerate. While if we have fertilization, it persists for 3 months, and after 3 months, the yellow body will transform into white body and will degenerate. So yellow body is called corpus luteum, and the white body is called corpus albicans. Okay.